Okay, so when it comes time to mix your color for your portrait, I want you guys to think about the color wheel. Okay, we've talked about the color wheel, we've talked about color theory and what happens when various colors are mixed. So just to review really quickly, we're going to do monochromatic color harmony, so that's one color plus white and gray and black. You can use, if you want to do a red portrait, you can use red straight out of the tube, or you can mix a custom shade of red. You can neutralize your red a little bit by adding green to it or adding a little bit of brown to it. So it's totally up to you as far as what color you want to use. So right now I put some paint onto my palette to experiment a little bit. So you guys can do this with your tables, you know, get a couple different colors and just kind of play around and mix some colors and figure out which ones you like the best. Again, like I said, you can use, you know, like the phthalo green straight out of the tube or the blue. It's up to you, okay? So I think I want to do sort of like a neutral teal color for my portrait. But again, you can mix, you know, and experiment. So if I take some of this and mix in the blue, I'm going to get a different color here, right? So it's a little bit more blue. Maybe I need more blue. So you just drag that in, mix. Okay, and so you get a color that you really like. So again, like I said, you can neutralize this. And this being a teal color, a blue-green, right? If we look here, what's across? A red-orange is what's going to neutralize that. So I could add red. I could add sort of this yellow ochre color, or I could add this warm brown to it. So the browns that I have a cool brown, burnt umber, or I have a warmer one, burnt sienna. So those would work really well as well. So I'm going to take a little scoop of this and mix in some of my teal color. And that tones down and warms up the color just a smidge. Okay, so the idea is to play around a little bit until you find a color you're happy with. If you want to, you can also take a little squirt of white and see what happens when you mix this color with white. Experiment. So I'm going to mix up a little puddle of this. And then if I just pick up a little bit of white, I can mix that in and see what that might look like when you add white to it. Okay. I think I'm going to add a little bit more brown. Okay, so once you're happy with your color, you've experimented, you can mix up a bunch of it and save it so that you have enough for your final painting. So let's say I'm happy with that, okay? So at this point, depending on how much time you have left in the class period, you might decide to do sort of blocking in of some of your important shapes in your painting, which I'll show you how to do in a second. Or you can make a big puddle of your paint and then save it. I have these little condiment cups, which you can use to save it. So you would just scoop up the paint and carefully put it into that cup. So there's plenty of room in here for some more. So maybe I'll mix up some more of that teal color for myself so that I have enough for my whole painting. So this is why I put a lot of the blue and the green on my palette, because I knew this is what I was going to do. So if you guys are just experimenting, little tiny dollops of color are all you need to start with. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to add some more of that brown to tone it down a little bit. So you guys can do, you can even just do a brown if you wanted to as your color. It doesn't have to be a bright primary color. It's totally up to you what you decide to do. But anything you do should have some sort of a color to it. It shouldn't just be black and white, okay? It's not achromatic, meaning without color. It's monochromatic, meaning one color, okay? So I've mixed up some more paint, and I will just add that to my little cup here, and I will be sure that I label it with a piece of masking tape with my name written on it. That way I have it, and then I'll give you guys a place to store them for each class. Okay, and that's a pretty decent amount of paint, should last a while, but if you aren't sure if it will last, you should jot down the colors that you used and sort of like the ratio, like 1 part phthalo green, 1 part phthalo blue, and a touch of burnt sienna. Okay, if you want to do some warmer colors too, you know, you can play around with these tones and see what happens with that, with these colors, and see what happens with that. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to start your painting in the next video.